So we've got some special guests on the show today, David. I'm going to let you do the introduction, and then we'll let them talk about the projects and what they're doing. We've had a few minutes before we went live. Very exciting stuff. Everybody today is going to love this episode of World Impact News.
Yes, everybody is, Sean. You underestimate that. And I'm sure that by the time we get done with, let's say, this hour, we are trying to keep it to a 1 hour like segment. And the reason we've talked about that is because in the future, we have this World Impact News Network, and it's a 24 hour show. It's a 5D quantum reality technology, engineering, mathematics, logic, science, consciousness, soul, all sorts of topics. We all know what those topics are. And so this platform here, like Sean, you just mentioned, is really meant for today for Michael and Daniel, both of which are from they have multiple organizations. I know them from Unitree. And now they have even a new venture called Zen Ship and also Zen Credits. And so I, just like everybody else, this is new. Even though I know Daniel, I don't know Michael very well, but at the time I did have one pretty lengthy discussion in a group, and powerful in the sense of the information and the intelligence and the critical thinking and the reasoning and things. So I'm just trying to build like a trusting relationship with Michael, but with Daniel, we've known each other now. I think almost about probably right around COVID, right before COVID. I was actually yeah, it's been a while, but over the period of us knowing each other, we first met through a mutual acquaintance, Ken Alston, who has a podcast. It's the Circular Economy, and he's going through his own growth pains and things like that, and trying to get resource. Everyone is involved with the same type of kind of pressure cooker we're in. And we believe through all of this, it's the unity that takes us out of that pressure. The pressure is because we're trying to be something that we're not. With all of the things that we do, you cannot be something that you're not. I mean, it doesn't equalize. It is stress because we're never happy, we're never satisfied, we never feel content, joy, blissful, and we always think that there's a scarcity, because we need to accumulate, we need to hoard, and we're going to be talking today about issues of circularity and logistics. And I don't even know what we're going to be talking about. There is no script, but this can go in many directions and very quickly. And so that's the idea. If we can, I don't want to like be talking so like schizophrenic or something. I mean, I'm saying quickly in the sense that in between each of our words, there's a gap. And that's actually where we want to live, is in that gap. Because in that gap is where it's silent and peaceful. And if it resonates with, like Daniel was saying, with nature and the natural, resonance of our planet and who we are, then we live in harmony. We don't have conflict and war and poverty, and you're destroying the earth and ruining the soil and poisoning the air and toxic chemicals and forever whatever. I mean, it's like, okay, so I don't want to go down this too much further, but really for people listening, this is January 31st, which is Friday. Thank God it's Friday in the year 2025. And Sean Callahan and David the Indian are here, co-host of this newly created venture called the World Impact News Wind Channel. And we're here with Daniel and Michael. And I'm going to go ahead, Daniel and Michael, however you want to do it, chime in. This is your opportunity so that we can come to some closures too. So that's the idea. When we pull away from this meeting today, if we spend an hour, there's a huge ROI for us, everyone on this call and everyone listening in the future. This is a time capsule. So you can come into this moment, even though it might be 20 years down the road. And that all has an impact in our realities, multiverses or whatever. So anyways, go ahead, Dan and Mike. Thank you so much for being patient. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Michael.
He's on
Michael,
mute.
hold on. Before you start, I have to say thank you, David. That is the longest introduction I've ever had in my life. I love it. Okay, go ahead, you guys, and thank you so much for coming on today.
Awesome.
Cool. Thanks for having us. Yeah. Um, yeah. So Unitree, as Dan said, is something we've been like working on for a while. Unitree as a download came to me, I guess around 2017 when I was getting into cryptocurrency and stuff. And my background is I've been coding since I was like 14 years old, writing software for like enterprises and super yachts and building all kinds of different types of systems. So I just naturally have like a system type brain. And I guess I got fascinated by this technology and the fact that we can actually build our own systems and the fact that there's like thousands of different new types of economic systems. And basically each one works different. There's different governance, different tokenomics. Yeah, it's built with different types of blockchain technologies and yeah, it was like a big paradigm shift for me when it comes to sort of like, oh wow, I've been using one form of money my whole life, but now there's like thousands of different types of money, and yeah, it's I just went through like a big like philosophical like, okay, what's this all based on type of like thinking, and also just from like a system architect perspective, yeah, I guess just trying to understand the systems and how they're built and all that kind of stuff, and yeah, I guess a big thing that for me was I've noticed also because I'm also quite spiritual and I've done like a lot of like shamanic plant medicine work and yoga and diet, all that kind of stuff. It's also like I was also looking at it from like a more philosophical perspective. And I was like seeing like okay, exactly what Dave was saying. It's like the fact that we're poisoning the soils and living in these artificial environments and everything's based on scarcity and they're all competing with each other. It just kind of like it just seems like things are just a little bit like messed up in our reality. And it seems to be tied to the way the economic system works because that's like the main focus for everybody. And it's basically it incentivizes human basically our behavior. So it's almost like looking at it from like a human behavioral perspective, like why are we behaving this way, and why is our economic system incentivizing us to behave this way as a species? So I was just thinking to myself, well, is there a way that we could create an
Thank you.
economic system that would create unity instead of separation? And seeing as money seems to be a tool of separation in our society, so that's where the name Unitree comes from, is unity through trees. It's basically a system that gets us to like serve the earth and sort of like which is the deepest connection we share to each other is our connection to the earth. So here through a plant medicine journey I did, I got shown that our connection to the earth is the deepest connection we share to each other. And when we honor that connection, it creates unity, and when we dishonor that connection, it creates separation. So it's basically an economic system that incentivizes us like honoring the deepest connection we share to each other, which is our connection to the earth. And then also through studying the systems and how they operate, I realized that basically the main driver of our direction as a species is how the money is created. So when money's gold, it's like our whole society is basically working towards mining gold. When money's debt, which is in our current society, the main focus is everyone working towards paying off the debt. And then when money's something like Bitcoin, now everyone's working towards mining Bitcoin. So we're trying to solve our problems as a species, but what our collective focus is and what our collective direction is, it's basically like going off a cliff. It feels like it's like going in this direction that's got no meaning or no purpose or no value of any real kind. And then that's what came to me. I was like, okay, well, if what we're collectively working towards doesn't create real value or isn't based on real value, then what's of real value? Because that's just what came to me. What's of real value is our environment, because it's what sustains us. So then that's where the whole idea of creating an economic system that's based on us working towards regenerating our environment. And the cool thing about like agroforestry systems is that agroforestry systems can provide food, it can provide medicine, it can provide building materials, it can provide biofuels. So we can create most of the resources we need from like agroforestry systems. and forests are basically self-sustaining systems. And it's like the main goal that we have as a species is to become like self-sustaining. So it's almost like I kind of figured if you take money, which is the heart of our society, and you anchor it to a self-sustaining system, we become more self-sustaining as a species. And it's also the only, let's say, technology or the only thing we've created that's literally like lasted like thousands of years. So if you look at it from like a posterity perspective, there's like agroforestry systems in Morocco that are like 2,000 years old are still providing for like hundreds of people. There's like in Vietnam and all over. It's like you got these systems. I was personally in Kenya, and I was living on an island there, and I was eating mangoes that were planted from their ancestors, and it's still like providing security for me, and it's providing like food for the animals and everything. So yeah, so basically that's in a nutshell, that's what Unitree is based on, is this whole concept of like how do we actually build an economic system that's getting us to live more in harmony with the earth, ourselves and each other, and also moving, yeah, I guess it's based on more of like, let's say, how indigenous people used to live as well. It's like how do we build systems that actually help us have the right relationship with the earth again. And yeah, I'll pass it to Dan quickly as well, and then he can give a bit of intro.
Wow.
Mike, yeah, Michael, I thank you for that. I look forward to getting into what Unitree is today and where we are as well on this call. But yeah, Daniel Cunningham, and yeah, I've been in the transport industry most of my life and career, and had a few plant journeys of my own in my early 40s, which changed the direction of my entire life. And started looking down this particular road within transportation and found an interesting way to bring together, different types of credits, biodiversity, carbon credits, water credits. There's plastic credits. There's a lot that's out there that needs to be looked at. And working with Michael and Unitree and building that over the years together, we both realized that there's a way to bring funds into regenerative projects without having like a venture capital or someone bringing money in with the me mentality. We needed to find a way to kind of get the we mentality into play. And so what we've done is we've created something called ZenShip, which then spun off with Zen Credits. But ZenShip is basically a collective of carriers of like mind, just really breaking down the barriers, decentralizing data, getting companies that aren't operating in fear and tearing down the silos and collectively working together, to do something better for the industry. And in doing that, we realized that that model actually scales, and it scales quickly. So we find ourselves today, sitting in a really interesting place with, about 35-40 million dollars worth of software and, automation and AI that, I've never even could have been, or dreamed was imaginable. But, here we are. And because of companies being able to work collectively and think together, as a we mentality versus that me mentality, we do find ourselves at the top of the industry when it comes to transportation and the e-commerce retailer, parcel structure. And we landed a few deals with a few companies, and one, the largest, is 198 million shipments a year. And, Michael and I were like, look, let's create what we're doing within Unitree. Let's, be able to put together syntropic agroforestry projects, and let's turn the transportation department from what many e-commerce and retailers consider as a cost segment of their business. And they don't like it because it drives down the profits of their particular items that they're selling. And we found a way to actually convert it into a profit center. So from that being said, I'll take it back to Michael so he can kind of explain. But it's been a beautiful journey. And David, to your point early on, thank you for the kind words. Yes, we've been working on this for a long time. And, it's been an interesting journey for sure, ups and downs and ebbs and flows and lots of learning and letting go. But once we got to the point where we could actually sit back and observe and not really put our own thoughts, feelings into the day to day or the things that were flowing, that's when everything started coming to fruition. And that's when you realize that and you can sit back and observe versus become or try to control, success does seriously come and it comes quickly. And that's where we find ourselves today.
That's amazing. I love it. I mean, this is really exciting because this is a whole nother structure of our society and how things are done that I know very little about, but you guys are obviously deeply involved. And Michael, just the whole premise of discussion about, what is currency, what is value, and all these basic concepts that, we're so structured into thinking about, but then taking that and remodeling that and modernizing that for really a much more bright future is exciting. And then wrapping that in with transportation and forests. So, Mike, I want to throw it back to you because this is really a great conversation, but really, really eye-opening as well.
Yeah, sure. Um, yeah, so the bridge is between the transport industry and the tokenization is like it does overlap quite well. And so we basically are looking to create two layers to the story. And the transport industry allows us to because deploying a new economic system is not an easy feat, and it requires like a lot of resources. So we've been looking at like how do we actually launch this properly. So Dan and I were doing a whole trip last year all over the States and Hawaii and Costa Rica, visiting lots of projects, getting a lot of interest, but it's sort of like, it's still like it still requires something else. So then when the transport industry opportunities come up now, it seems like it's giving us the opportunity to actually launch Unitree on quite a large scale at the moment. So we're busy working with a group here in South Africa. They're called Project Biome, and they are like a think tank or solutioning hive. That's what they call themselves, and they're connected to like a network of like 5,000 farmers here in South Africa. So through that, we're going to be able to set up agroforestry systems like all over the country. And then through that, we'll be able to start creating our own nurseries, creating our own processing facilities. And I mean, the idea would be with these tokens, you can go to shops, you can go like buy your food at the restaurants, at the shops, and set up distribution systems with the software that Dan and I have, the ZenShip, to set up distribution between the farms and the restaurants, and actually start to build like a whole ecosystem. But I guess I mean to give an example, there's a Zen philosopher. His name is Alan Watts, and he was talking about basically during the Great Depression, you still had all the same people, you had all the same land, you had all the same factories, you had all the same materials. You just didn't have this thing called money. Therefore, nothing happened. And he was basically saying there's like builders going to a building site, but they can't build because they've run out of inches to measure things with. Because all money is a unit of measurement value contributed. And nature's based on abundance. Like you take a mango, you eat the mango, you got a seed, you plant the mango tree, the seed becomes a tree, now you got 1,000 more mangoes. And like every year you can eat all those mangoes and plant all those seeds and just create like more and more and more abundance. So that's like the model of nature. But for some reason we created an economic system that's basically not based on that. It's based on this idea of extraction, exploitation, it's not enough. And this is like created this like collective mentality that I think is because we're stuck in that mentality that we are actually creating not enough. Because our economic system gets us to think that there's not enough, even though nature has basically got so much abundance. So so that's the idea with Unitree as well, is that there shouldn't be a limit to how many of these tokens we can create. Because as long as we're creating value, backing the tokens with value, then yeah, like if I plant a mango tree and I get a token for planting the mango tree, I should be able to plant another mango tree, get another token. And then that kind of creates like a positive feedback loop where we can create more and more and more abundance, and we're not constricted by the way that our economic system operates. Like here in South Africa, where I am right now, we've got a 40% unemployment. And it's not that there isn't work for people to do. Like I go down the road, and if I needed, say, somebody to help me, like a gardener or a builder or something, there's like 50 guys waiting. If I say I need somebody to help me clean my house, I put a thing on Facebook and say I need somebody to clean my house. I literally get 50 people in my inbox, all desperate for work. So it's just like we live in a society that's actually not serving humanity, it's not serving the earth, and it fundamentally comes down to, yeah, I guess how the economic system works. So there's also like let's say on a philosophical perspective, I was listening to a guy, his name was Manly People, and he was talking about the difference between like black magic and white magic. So in our society, basically saying black magic is doing stuff for selfish gain, white magic is doing stuff for the collective good. So our society is basically more of like everyone's in it. It's almost like a selfish gain kind of mentality. And with Unitree, we're also looking to see how we can turn our economic system into something that's actually more for the collective good of humanity, the planet, all the animals. I mean, there was an amazing project in Indonesia. The guy started 18,000 hectares and he got knighted for the project. And he got 600 families to live together. But basically, he was looking to build uh, a home for the animals because he was set up an orangutan conservancy. But he shows like over time, over the decades, as they chop down the forests for palm oil, the social issues got worse and worse and worse and worse with the people. So there seems to be a direct correlation between human well-being and us being connected to our environment. And I think we can get all the medicines we need from the forest, we can get all the food we need, all that kind of stuff. And then so he set up this orangutan conservancy, and it was full, so then he had to basically build the orangutans a new home, but he had to build it in a way that included the people. Otherwise, they would just chop it down again. So he set up this amazing model, like 600 families all living together. They set up a whole tribal self-governance system for how they get to steward this collective resource together. The orangutans get a home. They get hundreds of different kinds of bird species there. They actually changed the weather patterns of the whole region to have 25% more rainfall just by planting that forest. So for me, that sort of model, if we can tie an echo, so when I saw that, I was like, well, that seems to be the solution to like most of, let's say, the poverty and social issues and everything in our society. So all we really need is an economic system that helps us fund that, and just create that all over the show. And then yeah, so that's sort of like um, yeah, that's basically in a nutshell what we're looking to do. And Unitree is more like a crowdfunding platform. So, but the funding doesn't have to be just money. It can be like there's lots of people that have land available who don't necessarily have like money to develop their land. So we can basically give people tokens for the land that they contribute towards a project. There might be like there's a whole these big woofer networks. So why can't people come plant trees and set up build structures and all these sort of things and earn tokens? It's sort of like, yeah, if we can create like a network of people who want to make this happen, that's basically what we want to do. And then the tokens are there just to say, okay, I can contribute value to these different projects and I'm actually going to get paid. And as long as I'm contributing, there shouldn't be a limit to how much I can contribute. The fact that there's like no jobs or no work or no resources, I think we need to kind of like break that paradigm and yeah, build something where it's actually like a humane system. And also like the tree is actually like when we talk about unity and stuff, the tree is also like the symbol that actually unifies like all the different religions as well. Like basically every single religion has got the tree as a metaphor at the heart of their like religion. Like Buddha became enlightened under the Bodhi tree. You got Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. You basically got all these different stories that actually use the tree as a symbol, and also the tree of life is the symbol that actually represents the soul. So there does seem to be like an intimate connection between human beings and trees. on like a spiritual level as well. And actually, the word tree etymologically comes from the Old English word trough, and the word trough actually means truth. So the word tree literally means truth. So with Unitree, we're basically building a system that's the intention behind Unitree is to get us to create a system that goes like basically takes humanity in the direction of truth through the symbol of the tree.
That's amazing. David, do you want to jump in there?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. Thanks, Michael, by the way, and also Daniel. This is a great opportunity here. We're already on a half an hour. Time flies when you're having fun, right? And when you're exchanging such rich, it's like candy. It's like a kid in an ice cream store for me. It's just like, I want to it's like Baskin Robbins, 51 flavors. I want a taste of all of them,
I
please.
want them all.
I want to taste them at least each, just a little bit, please.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I just want to try to come to some conclusions today, and really extend tangible, realistic, practical actions that can manifest and really solve. Uh, I don't want to say 90% of what Michael and Daniel just described as some of the frustrations that they're, we when they speak, there's a mixture of joy and celebration, and also a little bit of fear about how they actually get to where they need to go not need to go, but where they get to go in their potential. Because that's really what we're all doing, is living out our passion, which is our potential or our soul contract. And so there's nobody that's going to stop us and they're not even allowed. Even extraterrestrials, God, whoever, guardian angels, they can't come down and literally grab your hand. They can like drop something in front of you so that you trip, or if you're in a car, they can rack you up in the side of the road, so you slow your butt down. And we get these types of messages. But really what I'm trying to express right now to Michael and Daniel is now we're into this. This is like a closing meeting. And and even Sean said, well, that's kind of a lot of pressure, David. You may want to like back off on that one a little bit. But no, we're not backing off. See, that's the issue. If you have a solution and other people are struggling and they're out there, basically Daniel and Michael didn't come out just right now over this last 20 minutes and come as a victim. They're not saying, oh my God, we need they said that they need our support and we need to come together, and how we deal with money is really the issue. And like Michael was talking about, economic systems typically don't happen overnight. I mean, Rome, they say, was built in a day. And that might be the reality, because back then they were intelligent. And now here we are today, and it takes forever, and you're over budget. The projects are over time schedule, and there's all sorts of problems with the union. And, I mean, it's not quite as easy as building anything in a day. But in saying that, all of the effort that Michael, Daniel, Sean, anyone listening to this, that is a time bank. Those efforts in your past and your future are in the bank account. And how do you access past and futures? Through the moment right now. So that's the message to everyone, especially Michael and Daniel right now. This is an opportunity. This is a format. We're not charging anything for this. So I don't know what you guys actually do for like a strategic marketing plan, whether you actually do events, put on festivals, workshops, conferences, expos. Are you in that environment of really, I guess I want to say, like cutting the ribbon and launching this? I mean, I know that what fundamentally the engineering and the components are, what you're setting out to do. And they're not really much different. There's a uniqueness and creativity, obviously, in how both of you guys culturally express yourself as a company and different families and whatever. But ultimately, like I think, Michael, you said, it's about the unity, or Daniel. And we're all saying that. This is our 12th episode, I believe. And literally every day we talk about the unity, because in unity, the Unitree grows abundantly. And you don't hack it down to use it for some other resource. You just let it grow. The resources are abundant that come and spring out from that core. And that we talked about this with the equipment, Michael and Daniel. Sean, I just want to say a quick word about Sean to kind of understand why this particular meeting is so powerful, because he's in the business of distributing these high-tech pieces of equipment. And from what I know, he's pretty much in touch with everyone I know. I mean, there's a couple of other people that are probably a little bit more secretive, and they're not really ready to commercialize what they're ready to prepare to present to the world. And so, but the point is that with the shipping, logistics, and all of the spirituality and the healing modalities, like Michael there in Africa, I believe Sean does have hospitals, right, in Africa. I know in Sierra Leone, and I don't know about South Africa where Michael is, but
we're actually working on a big project right now in South Africa. If it's okay, I'd like to just circle back and do a couple questions and answers, because it's a massive data drop that we've gotten, and I just want to try to clarify just a little bit. And thank you, like Michael and Daniel, so much, because this is really an amazing project. So Michael, basically Unitree, and I want to talk about the trees also, but I want to get to the structural format. So basically, this is like buying credits in a different type of monetary system, where these credits or these tokens are being used to regenerate the earth through the growth of plants and agriculture. Is that right?
Yeah, it's basically you say almost like permaculture, agroforestry is the foundation, but it could be eco communities, it could be healing centers, it could be community agriculture systems. It's like any type of regenerative,
Okay.
project. And then the tokens are like, the projects are held in earth trusts, and then the tokens are like beneficial. They're like shares, but they're like, but instead of being like a share in a corporate statutory company, it's like a share in a trust.
Okay. And is this available now? Like, is this an active like, is there a website that I could go to if I wanted to buy tokens? Is this up and running as we speak?
Yeah, we have the website up and running, and we are busy getting some pilot projects going right now. So the website's active, the system's built. We have our MVP. It's at www.unitree.earth. And right now we are busy working, as I said, with Project Bio, with their network of farmers, and the funding we're going to get through the eco credits to actually launch it this year properly on quite a on a relatively large scale.
So I could technically right now go buy credits, and those credits or those tokens that I would buy would actually help immediately or within the next 30, 60, 90 days to help start facilitating projects that you've already like got in the works ready to go, where it would help with growing, putting trees and helping grow and do these things. So this is like live real time. And we're going to have the website. Anybody watching, it's down in the description. I usually post in the comments. But this right now, when I get off this call, I could go to the website and I could buy some of these tokens, and I could actively right now have I could actively participate and help and make the world a better place. Is that correct?
Yes, the system's built, but we don't have active projects on the platform. We're busy getting the active projects ready at the moment for people to invest. So you can join our newsletter and stay updated, but we should have active projects within the next 90 days start to be put onto the platform that you can get
You've
involved in.
mentioned a lot of amazing projects all over the world where the forests need to be regenerated. So technically, we could at least start contributing to give you the funding with these tokens that's needed for you to launch these projects. Is that right?
Oh, yeah, correct. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Okay. So okay. Now I'm kind of clear there. And now, Daniel, tell me how the transportation part of this ties in with the Zentree and with all this, and what the vertical is with the transportation part of that.
Well, yeah, so it was Sean, sorry. It becomes basically a funding arm. We found a way that we didn't have to go out to investors. We found a way to basically bring into the shopping cart the ability for consumers to do the right thing. They can, either round up, offset their own carbon for that particular purchase, or they can plant a tree. That's number one. Number two, the e-commerce retailer networks that we are working with, and some of them being marketplaces, are owning, what their particular network is needing in the way of offsetting, whether that's plastic, water, carbon offset credits, whatever the case may be. And we have marketing teams from ZenChip and Zen Credits working, with these particular firms in order to figure out and how to market to their retailers that sell within their marketplaces, a way to, offset and bring down to neutral that particular network's, cost to the world and the earth. And then the third one is the carriers and regionalized parcel teams. We work with some of the largest carriers in the country today, and our technology powers 22 to 23,000 trucks a day, their assets, including human capital, to optimize their routes, optimize their packaging of skids, to not have wasted space, to not have trucks. And I don't know if you guys ever seen the statistics, but generally up to 1/3 of every tractor trailer you see on the road is empty. And that to me is just a byproduct of operating in fear and not sharing your data. So we're working now with carriers as well to identify, hey, if you have 10,000 trucks and you're running that, what's that offset look like? What's it need to be to bring it back to zero, as David would say? That's his favorite number. And if you can bring it back to zero, and you got the entire network doing that, and you can funnel the resources into projects that actually, as Michael mentioned, have beneficial interest certificates. It's not anything that can be governed by an outside 3-letter entity, but you have beneficial interest certificates. No one's making any promises that there's going to be anything that comes back. But however, because you've done the right thing, now we can turn your transportation department into something that actually is a profit center versus a cost.
Okay, so thank you so much for that. So I'm also in the medical equipment industry, and we ship a lot of medical equipment. Like right now, I've got a bunch of stuff that needs to be picked up in Florida, brought up here. We usually go to a broker, as you might say, and say,
Oof.
hey, we've got to pick up. So for the company that owns the trucks, as an example, what
Sure.
is the presentation that you would give to like a company that has 30, 50, 100 semi trucks? Because are you talking about like all their information being put out there so that there's no deadhead drives? Like if they were to come here to Florida, we would find a route for them. Like they're always going to stay full. Like if you could just dial a little closer, because I'm not the smartest tool in the
Sure.
shed, we'll say, but like what does that presentation look like to a transportation company with, say, semi trucks?
Oh gosh, Sean, thank you for the question. It's actually a beautiful thing for anybody who gets involved. But for the guy who has 30 trucks, it's ingenious for him to tie into the network because we're all like minds. And the one thing that we do, we have a sales team now, and I'm actually heading to Dallas right now. I'm moving, to train our sales team for the next 6 months. But the one thing we'll always bring out up front is we need to actually be transparent together. I need to know your numbers. I need to know what your cost structure is. I need to know what your profit margins are, because most people are operating on razor thin margins, but it's only because they don't have the analytics or data to actually make educated decisions in real time to increase those. And we can actually bring that because we decentralize the data. Our core layer is HealyLabs.com, and it's a Web3 base, and we actually port all of our information into them. They actually clean it and to make sure it's all centralized and brought back out to everybody in real time. So everybody's working off the same data structure and data set. And then, we have other partners as well. But the point being is we're able to, when you plug into our network, we actually I don't say we compete with anybody. Even one of our biggest, accounts right now would be ShipX. But we do the same thing. The only difference is we work in Web3 and we have a lot of automation and machine learning. But, with Solomon, it's co-opetition, not competition. And that's the mindset that we need to create, because nobody should be competing. If we're competing, it's not to the benefit of everybody that's involved. It's to the benefit of yourself. And that's not scalable. So to your point, when a carrier plugs into what we're doing, their pricing's put into the system. We overlay machine learning. We don't get involved. We're not the broker. We don't do that. We connect everybody directly. So when the retailer or e-commerce company comes in, and to your point, you're brokering, and there's nothing wrong with that either. But the point being is, when you plug in, you're plugged into every rate we have, every carrier, and every shipment that goes out uses machine learning to make sure that the right mode, the right truck, the right piece of equipment, the right box, the right materials are being used to optimize that particular shipment to its best ability today. And it refines every day. It learns more every day, and it's getting stronger, and it's getting faster, and it's getting better, to the point where we're now doing skid sharing, where we network the volume and we can arbitrage zone skipping for FedEx, UPS, DHL, and US Postal Service, and we can hit rates of 30 to 40% less than those top four because we're doing things the right way. We're just using machine learning, and we're actually bringing together a network of companies that want to work together and see the bigger picture and greater opportunities as working as a whole.
Wow, that's amazing. That is really amazing. So by gathering all that data and getting everybody to work together, it makes everything much more efficient, and it basically you kind of like just gets everybody united, gets the data out there. Now, how does that, once that's done, and let's say that they jump into that, how does that correlate to funneling back to like generating the credits and generating the stuff that goes into like forestry and trees? Like, how does that tie then back into the whole other scope of making the world a better place?
Sure. And I can let Michael speak on this as well. But, from the transportation side, as I mentioned earlier, we got three different segments. You got the consumer, you got the retailer, e-commerce, and then you got the carriers. When we're boarding and when we're selling and when we're talking to these particular pieces, we're having communication around transparency and truth, where the world is, where we are as a society, how and where we believe epigenetics and false teachings have led us astray. And we're very upfront and honest with those things. And you can actually get to the point where you hit someone's soul. And when you hit that, they're there in that moment, and they don't have thought. They're there in that moment. Zero, David. You can actually convey a message that will invoke almost instant change. And then we can actually talk about the realities of what needs to be accomplished and what does your soul say needs to be done. And as long as you have a purpose and you've got a point and a direction, you'll be amazed at what you can accomplish and what you can corral in forward motion.
Dude, I love that, man. That is so beautiful. And, the one thing that I could say is that I can see now how this is starting to correlate, because you can take this efficiency and the restructuring of something as fundamental as transportation and then say, this is how we can make it more efficient. And by becoming part of this team of efficiency, it'll free up more. Now, I would be the guy to be like, dude, sign me up. Like, what do I got to do? Because I do a lot of transportation and I do e-commerce because, like David said, I'm also in a lot of the health and wellness technology, a lot of the energy frequency, a lot of what I would say is the future is here now technology, which is transitioning the medical into a whole nother world. So I'm in kind of both segments. But this would be something where I could see like a FedEx and a UPS saying, look, yes, we're using a lot of gas, we're using a lot of different things that possibly could be detrimental, but we're finding a way now to be more efficient and to be able to contribute back to a way that we can make the earth back to being a much better utopia. And oh, by the way, here's the sticker that goes on the back of our truck that says that we're a member of Unitree, or we're a member of Zentree, or we're a member of this organization, and we are taking an active role in our business model to be one of those companies that's giving back and being part of the solution and not part of the problem. Am I kind of correct there on where that's going?
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously, if we can get them to embrace this, yeah, of course. But typically, their prices are going up 7% every year since COVID. And, the realities are that I don't see that actually going down. And the other thing is, with regards to technology and the fear-based operating that we've had over the past 25, 30 years in the transportation industry, sharing data, people, if you go to FedEx and you're dropping shipments, they have to be the best at everything. They have to be the best at fulfillment, sorting, middle mile, LTL truckload, and last mile. And let's just be real. There isn't a company that's capable of doing that all from the beginning to end, completely efficient, the way that things are today and the way that the data silos exist. So what we've done is we've broken that down, and we've broken it down in segments where we can actually have a shipment, but 5 different orders within that shipment, and allow everybody to collectively and cohesively work together to fulfill that particular shipment. And then the invoices are all collected through, our own banking rails. So here's another thing. There's a lot of particular payments where there's 30-day terms, 60, 90-day terms. And you've got carriers out there waiting for money. And, this is a big problem in the space. And that's not going to happen with us. We're collecting the funds at the time that the order's placed, and it's going into a wallet. And as the particular partner, whether it's the fulfillment house, the middle mile, the last mile, the in-home assembly, we even work with that in installation. If you get a car charger for your garage, we even handle that. So it's a completely a one-stop shop. But, even if that's happening, I'm sorry, guys, someone's pointing at me and I lost track of thought now. I apologize.
You're good, brother. You're good. Michael, I want to get to you. David, I want to jump you in there too, but Daniel, before I go, and if you're still free, and if you need to, I can jump over to Michael, but I want to know right now, who is your ideal target customer? Like, who is the ideal target market right now that you're working with? What is the ideal, like with what you're doing right now? And I can see that this company is growing and you're moving to Dallas, but right now, who is the ideal target market customer? And then what does it take to get the UPS, to get the FedEx, to get the big boys in? Like, kind of roll that out for me and kind of give me where you're at now and where you're growing to and how this whole thing centralizes into one mass transportation business model.
Are you asking me with regards to how it ties into Unitree with the credits, or how do
Well, Daniel,
you?
I think Daniel he's still trying to drive, and I was actually directing that to him. But did you catch that question, Daniel? But Michael, I do want to get back to you on how that does.
I didn't, Sean. If you could repeat that, my apologies, guys.
Oh, you're good. You're good, man. I appreciate you even working with us today while you're driving. I cannot multitask. The fact that you are is actually amazing.
Listen, this is important. This is
Yeah,
important.
it is.
And we don't have festivals that we're not doing festivals and stuff today. We're growing because we're doing the next right thing. The universe is putting it in front of us. We're taking everybody into consideration and moving it forward. Go ahead, Sean.
I love that. So what I was saying is I'm wondering right now, who is your ideal target market customer? Like your database of clients right now, what does that portfolio look like? What does that company look like? And as you're growing and integrating larger companies and multiversal, kinds of companies, what is the steps that need to happen to get the big boys in, to get the UPS, the FedEx, and get the whole thing centralized? Like, where are you at now? What is your ideal customer base, and how do you grow and scale into getting these larger companies on board?
Sure. Basically, we started out with the regionalized parcel teams, because, just they're more willing to work and they don't have the funds to have the technologies that the bigger guys do. So we're able to give them technology that they typically wouldn't have. If you're going to ask me what we're looking for or what Zen Credits is trying to accomplish right now, I'd say that, we're looking for retailers and e-commerce stores because we have a really strong network that just continues to grow on its own now based on its own merits. The fact of what we're doing and how we're doing it, being completely transparent, everybody's referring. And the same things kind of happen in the retail side. And I initially started with guys who were doing 1,000 shipments a year or 20,000 shipments a year. But now, we're actually working with influencers, through our newest yippycircle.com, which is one of the biggest ones that we've signed early on that led to what Michael and I are doing right now. they like put us on the map, and they're working with influencers to sell products. So people want to drop ship when they're listening to these podcasts and they want to sell an item, they want to drop ship that. So we're actually doing bioregional fulfillment houses all over the country to make sure that not only are we doing things, with machine learning and layovers, but we're doing them more ethically, and we're doing it more on a local base based on where people are actually purchasing their products. So to your point, Sean, you actually mentioned earlier that you have medical devices. I work with the medical devices group on LinkedIn, which is the largest one that's out there. And, absolutely, we would want to work with you, because anything basically 3 pounds or more, we can be very competitive. If it's, you hear some of my vendors, they'll say, and I'm going to be a little bit, on this side, where if it's 5 pounds or more, because I want to be, I want to under promise and over deliver in everything that we do. It just needs to be the way it is. It's the way we actually sign up our retailers. It's the way we sign up our carriers. Let's make sure we're under promising and absolutely over delivering, because that is the key to success, and being transparent and hitting your numbers based on what the expectations of everybody that you're working with are.
And once that happens, then that helps funnel money into the part of it where Michael is building up the credits. Is that right? Are they kind of interconnected?
They are interconnected completely. We are building Unitree into ZenShip, and that's why we created Zen Credits. So Zen Credits is actually doing complete integrations with Unitree and then all the other partners, Regen Network, Project Biome, the different farms down in Central America. Everything's going to be tied in together, where when people come on board, it's funny, and even this I call it semantic interoperability, the same way machine learning learns. It's the same relationship with humans and companies. We have to actually find a way to find that black and white, but wait a minute, there's always a gray zero where we can actually come together and find a way to cross-pollinate. There's no reason that anybody you're working with can't actually give back. So my point is, if you look at viaconnect.com and Yippee Circle, which are both owned by Betsy, she owns another company called Orca PR. We've actually partnered with her to where, based on the savings that we will give retailers, we'll pay her $6,000 a year for marketing and advertising, which is our base package, $500 a month for smaller retailers who are looking to sell their products, social media, website, marketing, PR, press releases, whatever the case may be. We're so confident in what we're doing. As long as they hit a specific number, they qualify. And if they qualify, we actually pay via their fees, because that's the way it should be. If we're all working collectively and find a way to grow together, and that will actually enable us to scale much faster, and it's sustainable growth.
I love that, man. This is really amazing. Michael, I've done a lot of the talking. David, I'm going to throw it to you in a minute too. And Daniel, thank you for all that great information. Michael, go ahead and jump in and kind of talk about, how that integrates in and the growth now with the credits, and what your future is, or where this whole thing is going, and kind of timelines and that.
Yeah, sure. Well, I mean, we've got two big companies that want to get going with us, ShipX and ViaConnect. I mean, ShipX do about 15 million packages a year, and ViaConnect do about 198 million shipments a year. So they both said they want to work with us with this crediting program. And then right now, as I said, we're working with Project Biome, but they've also got a whole collective of people and Regen Network to get the carbon crediting part integrated with Unitree. And then we're going to get these pilot sites going here in South Africa. We've identified 4 or 5 pilot sites, but we actually need to build it out. We're working with some of the top permaculture people in South Africa right now to actually build out a whole financial model. And then we also need to start thinking about how we're going to scale this, because if we're going to bring in tens of millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars through the transport, billions of dollars through the transport network, then I mean, there's a huge difference also here in South Africa is what it costs to plant versus this is like in other places. So dollars go a lot further here. So we can plant a hectare of agroforestry for the base cost of around $3,000. And then so we bring in millions of dollars. That's like a lot of hectares that we can plant. And then we need to set up nurseries, we need to set up processing facilities, we need to basically, so we basically, I believe, just working out that plan of like how we're going to start with the pilot sites. And then we're also creating like a, yeah, it's we're going to tokenize all these projects, and we're going to basically split the tokens between the different, let's say, parties, like the farmers. We want to create a community fund of tokens, and then we want to give a share of the tokens back to the companies to give them a share of to give them a return as well as them buying their carbon credits. But then we want to have a community fund as well, where we tokenize, where we sell a certain portion of the tokens to the market, to like retail investors. And then we want to take those funds and implement more projects. So it becomes a bit of like snowball type thing where we continue to bring in more funds through the transport industry, but now we're also tokenizing these projects that we're investing into, which can then bring us more funds to invest into more projects.
That's awesome. Michael, I want
Right.
you to give me those two names of those two companies that you said are massive that are getting ready to jump online. What are they?
They're called ShipX and BioConnect.
Okay, I want to make sure that these companies are getting credit for being forward-thinking companies. I want to know that other companies out there, these are the people right here that set the bar for you to follow. And when these companies start doing it, because Daniel and Michael and David, I can tell you as a business owner, I want to be a part of this, right? Now, here's the thing I love about the powers that be, which I call them multiple different adjectives, the dark side, the Darth Vaders. They have for years told me that I am evil because I'm using carbon, right? They've beaten that into me. You're bad. Your company's bad. And now you guys are saying, hey, here's a way that you can run your business and give back. And now you can actually make the world a better place. You can help grow trees by running your business. There's a way that we can make this sustainable and help like benefit everything. And I can see a lot of companies saying, dude, I want your sticker on my company website. I want people to know that I'm in the forefront of helping this world become a better place. Yes, am I a business? Yes. Do we have trucks and operations? Yes, we do. However, we've partnered with Zentree, with Zen Credits, with these different projects, and these companies now are taking our business and helping it grow and advance the world, like the world forestry and all these different things. So this project that you're working on is very powerful. And I can see a lot of companies saying, we want to be part of the change. We want to be part
Sure.
of the solution. We want to be a company that represents the future of where this is going and turn this whole misconception about we are bad and evil because we have to, ship stuff to we're part of the solution, and you guys are creating the solution. And this is extremely exciting, I think, for not just for the average everyday person who says, look, we how do we contribute? How do we do our thing? Well, you buy from the retailers that are supporting these companies, and now all of a sudden doing business with that branch of your company and contributing to buying these credits, these Zentree credits. This is revolutionary. The time right now couldn't be better for what you're doing, and I'm very, very
Agreed.
excited. Number one, to be learning about it, but also to be able to have an active role at some point, to be able to be part of it, and with David, of course, to help get it out to the world so other people can learn about what you're doing.
We appreciate the forum, Sean and David. We've been talking about coming onto this, and we just didn't feel we were ready. We wanted to make sure that what we were doing was solid, but you can see we put in a solid few years. We stayed under the radar, and we've put the one foot in front of the other and doing the right thing for everyone, not everyone involved. And to your point, I'd expect that we'll have a call with you to get your medical devices company on board ZenShip after this call at some point.
Yeah, definitely. So we're hitting about an hour.
Yes.
And this is definitely a conversation that we're going to continue because the amount of information with Michael, with what you're doing, and Daniel, this is probably worthy of another 4 or 5 calls, and we can monitor progress and break it down
Sure.
even more. But
Absolutely.
before we end this call, I'd like to give everybody a final word. And so, David, I'm going to start with you, and then I'll go with you, Michael, and Daniel, and then we'll wrap up this podcast. But David, go ahead and let's have some last words and some thoughts as we go.
Thank you, Sean. Thanks for facilitating all of this. I just wanted to mention a person's name, and it's somebody that I've already talked to Sean about inviting to this World Impact News channel with an interview. His name is Jeremy Rifkin. Sean, I think I asked you. You didn't know Jeremy's
I've
work.
heard of Jeremy Rifkin. I have heard of him.
Yeah. What about you, Daniel and Michael? Both of you. Have you heard about Jeremy Rifkin?
I have not.
Costa Rica.
He's in Washington, D.C. He's an economist, and he's a best-selling author. I think he's written about 40 books. His most recent book is a book called Planet Agua. But the book that he's been a writer and an economist for mostly the European Union. He's not so popular in the United States because some of what he proposed in the 1990s was shocking for people. Like he wrote a book called The End of Work in 1990, before we had these computers and supercomputers and everything. And somebody just out of the blue, and this has happened consecutively many times, like there's no like deja vu or coincidence. Somebody came up to me and said, The End of Work. And I was like, what? Look it up. And I went to the computer and I looked it up, and I came on to Jeremy's work for now almost 40 years. The guy is exceptional, but I'm mentioning him specifically because, Michael, you talked about economics, economic stimulus, development, logistics, transportation, everything, our whole dynamics, operating systems of what makes society who we are artificially, like cities and roads and bridges. And then our natural system is that's combination. And that's exactly where we're coming from. And that's what Jeremy talks about in his, and Jeremy right now is promoting this idea of Planet Agua, because he's saying without our water being enriched and like spiritual, our plants are going to die. We're going to die. The planet's going to die. And so basically, and he comes with science behind what he's talking about. And ultimately, he says that there's three things that society does to actually be sustainable. The first one, and it's not in an order of importance, but energy, clean, renewable, abundant energy. I'm not saying free energy, but an energy source that's on a low vibrational signal, a subtle energy that's a low pulsing, like a radio frequency identification chips and things like that. Use these energy devices that are in a quantum radio signal. And that's how we do the internet tracking and the Internet of Things. And that's how we do the logistics. And that's how now we actually integrate these drones here in Brazil. See, this is some information you guys don't know, but we have a project. You can look it up. It's called eveairmobility.com.br. And Project Eve is from Embraer, the aviation development company here. It's a government company, but they do have subsidiaries and IPOs and thing. And this is a project about drones with no batteries, Daniel and Michael.
Sure.
And have the ability right now for 8 kilos. It's not a huge payload, but they're already working on carrying people up to 50 people in these drones. And these are not meant for like high altitude drone. This is above the ocean. So like where we are and getting to the Hibernation Festival and how important this week is of February 21st to March 1st. It's the week before Carnival, first of all. So it's going to get, once we do like a search engine marketing and whatever you want, a blitz, a guerrilla marketing blitz, and we need, I don't want to say throw it down their throats, but we need to be present. We need to be serious. And we need to canvas, in this particular event. I'm not asking Daniel, you, Michael, or Sean, or even anyone listening necessarily, because most of the people here are international. You both mentioned about localization and hyper localization. In our future, we're not going to be distributing stuff all over the world. What we're going to be doing is producing those products, maybe 90%, 95%, all items produced locally. And so the distribution are these drones that go from house to house. These are home-based businesses and enterprises where in the future, everyone has a job. Everyone has 24 hours a day, and that's the credit that we give them. How they earn and recover those credits, they do stuff. And they basically do things that they want to do, passionate things about their purpose and meaning in life. And Michael mentioned that. And we've all mentioned it. That's really what it comes down to. You know, whatever our goals and objectives in life, we are passionate people. And we're going to live out that no matter what. If people come in, you know, like, for example, myself, I'm not saying super independent, but I'm awake. I'm independent. I'm free. You know, everyone has that ability. So I'm not expecting other people to do stuff. And I just met Sean about a month ago, not even maybe 3 weeks or whatever, short period ago. I've known Daniel much longer. And I've been saying Hibernation Festival. This is an event that is a World Fair event, not fair, F-E-A-R, F-A-I-R. Excuse me. It's a World Fair event. Although it's going to be amazing because we're coming out of the woodwork with quantum technologies and 5D inventions. And instead of Web 3.0, we skipped 4.0. We're in Web 5.0. We're in super intelligence already. So there's already people concerned about, how do we regulate ethics and morality with these robots? We've already discussed all of this stuff in faculty and science labs and think tanks. And we know, you know, I mean, our humanness is never going to be replicated 100%. You always have your authentic or NFT, your non-fungible token. That is you. Nobody can copy that. And your 1 hour, like right now, we're going on a little bit over 1 hour. In the future, anyone listening in right now, each of us would get one time credit, one time coin. So when you hang up, you don't, or not hang up, but when we could terminate this this episode, hopefully you're not going to hang up. Don't do that. Although Daniel, I think you've done that once or twice in our career, in knowing each other, because I can overdo it. But this is the world we live in. Extreme times. I'm not in panic mode. I was, when 2010, when I first came here full time, I didn't know what I was doing. Right. I took a huge risk. Came in, Daniel, you know the story. This island was abandoned. Long story short, right now it's home. HOME. Not just for me, but for Daniel, Michael, Sean, and anyone listening. This is a public domain. This is a sovereign nation. This is a micronation. This is a freedom cell. This is a living matrix. This is technology up the yin yang. Okay. And so the things that you guys are working on, the importance right now for me to express before we close here, and then maybe Michael and Daniel, you can make a closing statement and then we'll wrap it up. But the importance thing is about the moment of now. Because one question, this is how fine tuning we need to be and sensitive and attentive to each other. Because a question that Sean asked Daniel, he said, Daniel, what is your ideal client? What are you looking to do? And then Daniel's response was, we're doing this and that, right? And then towards the end of his response, he said, you know what? You're our client. That's what we're going to do. We're going to close you today, bro. That's the purpose. And that's God's honest truth. February 21st is very close relatively, because when you're planning a world summit, a quantum summit, that normally governments propose this stuff, like UK, in South Africa, whatever, Dubai, Hong Kong, Singapore. You go online and type in quantum summit 2025 or AI summit or whatever. I did it. I did a research. There's about 15 summits that are around the world in this year. And we are like the first one. And so there's a whole domino of these events that once we get into that and we create that tsunami wave, it's a direct energy positive thing that we're doing. We're gonna send a ripple of unconditional love to our local community here, and it's gonna be felt all over the world. And the Schumann resonance in the GOES satellites are gonna be like, oh my God, everything is so bright today. Instead of an eclipse, we're gonna have just this white, just like a photo moment with this big flash cube, and everyone's gonna be like, oh my God, and everyone's gonna come out of it and be so happy. It's like Dan right now smiling. So beautiful, Dan. Smile, bro.
It's always beautiful.
What's more beautiful than a smile, you know? So,
You said it.
anyways, let me just end this. We want to work with you. We have this platform. If you want, you can come on a daily basis, 24/7 program. And so in a 1 hour window, and you can have a show, or you can come on guest speaking, and you can come in different podcasts. It's a hub. So you don't have to do it all yourself, and you don't have to administer any of that. It is going to be, like you said, all AI, not all, but 99% AI automated. We even mentioned, and I'll end this, in Hong Kong, in Tokyo, the stock exchange, Dan and Mike. How many people work at the stock exchange in Tokyo? What would be your guess?
0.
That's a good one, but what's
You're
yours,
close.
Mike? Yeah, what's
No
yours?
idea.
There's one person that's on
Yeah.
the stock exchange floor. Now,
He is
zero
the
would
AI.
be
He
like,
is
oh
the
my God,
AI.
we give it. Yeah, I mean, if it was zero, that you give it all your power to technology. You got to have one, like, I guess, fool or something, someone scapegoat or somebody. If something shitty happens, oh man, there's nowhere to hide over there. Anyway, so this is all fun and games, and this hibernation festival for the people that are sleeping. We're gonna do a rockabye baby song for them, and they're gonna go into a deep, deep sleep. And then for the people that are ready to wake up and come out of like the hives and in the caves up in New England and Vermont and wherever you guys are up there in the cold weather, then you're going to wake up. We're going to wake up during that week. It's going to be a hibernation reboot and a rehacking and boot hacking and whatever you want to call it. It's an extravaganza. It's going to be music. It's going to be entertainment. I'm going to do all of it myself. Really, with your help. You guys can be like the guest speakers and pop in when you want during that 8 days and 7 nights, and promote like hell. We're doing a fundraiser. I don't know if you remember Jerry Lewis and Dean Martin. Back in the day, they did the telethon for MS, multiple sclerosis. And anyways, yeah, I think we lost. Yeah. Anyways, are you hearing me? Are you still hearing me?
Yeah, we're hearing you.
We are.
We might have to
Well,
wrap
I
it
wanna
up.
just
we have
end.
another call to get to.
Yeah, we gotta
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
I just
But,
want to end to say that this event is really, to me, the milestone that's going to set and break us all through that glass ceiling, and infinite potential is ahead. All right, thanks so much. Let's keep it going. I'm available daily, hourly. So go ahead, Sean.
Let's do it. So Daniel, what is and Michael, I'm going to have you guys, what are the websites that people can go to? They will be down in the description of the video. I'm going to put a comment right up at the top and pin it. Where do we go to learn more about these programs? I'll start with you, Daniel.
Zen, it's www.zenship.co right now, and we are going through a full rebranding, and new website will be launched at the end of February. But the one that's there works. I mean, we put that up real quick. That's that side, and then I'll let Michael talk around the Unitree side.
Yeah, then we got www.unitree.earth, where you can basically read about Unitree, see our white paper, look at our presentations, sign up to the exchange, and yeah, we're also going to be updating that soon. We're hiring more developers and UX people. We sort of build out the Unitree system a lot more, and then we're obviously going to be putting up the website for Zen Credits as well. That's zencredits.com, but that's not up and running yet. But we're busy working on that right now.
Super exciting. Thank you so much for joining the call. We'll look forward to catching up with you again in the future. I will circle back, seeing how we can get involved, and I greatly appreciate your time today. Thank you so much.
Cool, guys. Thank you a lot.
Thanks,
For your
gentlemen.
time.
Make it a
Really
great.
appreciate it.
Thank you.